Good morning, YouTube. Today I wanted to talk to you guys about a Flurry Rogue build. So I know Twisting Blades is the meta, it's the fastest for clearing things, and I know if you're playing range, it's probably something like Piercing Shot for the damage it can do. But I wanted to start thinking outside the box as we get closer to release and start thinking of builds that could be viable that aren't really talked about yet. And I landed on the Flurry Rogue, and I think it is a very viable build. So right off the bat, the pros of this are going to be survivability. You survive better than a Twisting Blades build, and the cons would be the speed at which you clear. But I want you to go into that with an open mind because it's actually considerably closer than I originally thought it would be. I thought it would be tremendously slow compared to Twisting Blades, and it's simply not. It's just a little bit slower, nothing too dramatic, and survivability is considerably higher. When I think of a build like this and why I say it's viable, I start thinking of like greater rifts in Diablo 3 where you started getting into really challenging ones and you're required to change your build a little bit so you weren't a glass cannon as much as you had a little bit more survivability while still doing decent damage. So let's go ahead and jump into this building and I'll show you what I mean. So right off the bat, my gear. You can see my gear. It's not upgraded. It's not gemmed correctly. It's nothing. I'm a fresh level 20, right? There's only two things that really matter here, and that is two aspects I'm currently wearing. One of them is going to be the Flurry aspect. This makes it so Flurry hits all the mobs around you instead of just the ones in front of you. Plus the 13% increased damage is pretty nice. The second one is going to be the energy generator one. This one is a 6. Wish it was a 7. It is what it is. I actually have an issue with this being in the game at all because I really feel like it pigeonholes rogues into having to have this aspect somewhere on their gear. But it's early on. I could be wrong. Hopefully I'm wrong and that's not the case. But right now, that's kind of what it looks like. From there, nothing else you really need to know. I do have these two emeralds in here. That's because they increase damage of vulnerable enemies. That's not by accident. You'll understand why pretty soon here. As far as specialization goes, we're going to go combo points. We're not going inner sight for this one. There is a reason for that, which again will make sense as we get further into this. And abilities, so try to bear with me. I'm going to explain this as clear as I can, and I think it'll make sense to you. So we're going to go puncture, and we're going to go puncture into the 3. This is really the part that matters. This is beneficial, but it's kind of a side benefit, nothing too important here. So the reason we went puncture is for a couple of reasons. One, it attacks incredibly fast, so you're generating a lot of energy fast as possible, especially when I have a 1.2 weapon equipped already, and when I'm in the middle of a fight and get increased attack speed, you know, it all starts compounding. You're attacking very fast, which is important because we need 3 attacks to get our max combo points here. But more so, the reason we did this is because right here, if you attack an enemy with 2 blades, they turn vulnerable. Vulnerability is kind of like the secret sauce to this whole build. So vulnerability makes enemies take 20% increased damage. So when we walk in, we're gonna, you know, boom, boom, attack it, vulnerability, dash in, walk in, however you want to get into the middle of the mobs where that vulnerable mob is. And from there, we're going to cast a Flurry. The reason we're going to do that is a couple things. So if you scroll down here, that bottom modifier, Flurry hits any vulnerable enemy. All enemies hit with that cast turn vulnerable. So basically, you jump into the mob that is vulnerable, you cast, now all 15, 20 mobs around you are now vulnerable. They're all taking 20% increased damage. In addition to that, the top modifier here, vulnerable enemies have the chance or heal you for 12% of your maximum life per cast. That is huge. So it helps with that survivability I was talking about. So if I jump in and you hit me pretty hard, well, as soon as I cast 2 or 3 of these, you know, I have a lot of life back. It gives me, it's a substantial amount. At 300 life, if I'm over here getting back 38 per cast, that's quite a bit pretty fast, you know what I'm saying? So we're going to go ahead and go with that. And then down here, we went into dash. We're still not a tank at the end of the day. There are times you're going to have to dash in and out. Plus, mobility when you're just clearing things and trying to go fast. That's always nice to have. I just always like having dash, as do most rogues. We also have 1 point here in daggers, 5% damage done to healthy mobs. Healthy mobs are just any mob over 80% life. I just put this here kind of as a filler, to be honest with you, when I was doing this build. I might move it. If someone has a better idea, I would happily move it there and try that out. But that's kind of where it ended up. Down here, we did go Dark Shroud. We went Dark Shroud into the increased movement speed for the orbs around you. Again, this is a dungeon grinder. We want to be able to clear fast. This is a pretty standard thing that every rogue is doing. Smoke grenade is not a standard thing, but I do think it holds a lot of merit to this build. Let me explain. So as a base, smoke grenade is a 15-second cooldown for a 4-second reward, and it's trash. To put it, that's the only way I can put it. It's kind of a trash ability, right? It dazes for 4 seconds. Daze makes it so you can't attack or use skills, but at a 15-second cooldown, is it worth the skill points? No, unless you use it correctly. So mobs affected by your smoke grenade are now take 15% increased damage. So if I jump in there, I flurry a group, they're now taking 20% increased damage. If I cast this, that's 15 compounded with that 20. Now, that is very situational because most mobs are dead by then, but if you're in an area where they're not dead by then, you now have them taking quite a bit of extra damage. In addition to that, this is the real nice part here. There's a 25% chance that they will reduce the cooldown by 3 seconds for every vulnerable mob it hits. So if all 15 mobs around me have a vulnerability, which they should because one flurry will put it on all of them, and I take too much damage. This is kind of like my oh shit button when things are going south and I need to like get out. I can cast this directly on myself, right? All of them are now dazed for 4 seconds. So I can either run, because I have the ability, or I can continue casting and doing my thing, because every flurry is going to be healing me, and they can't do anything for 4 seconds. So I'm getting healed, they're unable to attack me, and I'm doing a lot of damage to them. Regenerating a lot. It's a perfect little storm, right? In addition to all that, 25% chance is pretty damn high that it's going to reduce it by 3. So chances are you don't have a cooldown if you need to change it, or if you do, it's a very minimal cooldown, so you can cast it again very soon after. From there, we went Shadow Imbuement. I don't have a skill in it because it's on my gear and we're level 20. If I didn't have that piece of gear on, I would put a skill in it. That's the only thing here. In addition to that, we go ahead and go into Consuming Shadows. For everyone that dies to that shadow damage, we generate 20 energy, which is awesome. Of course, we're all about generating energy so we can keep moving. And that's kind of it. A couple little things you should know right away. I don't look at these combo points. I use the sound cue. It's a very distinct sound, and you will cast so fast you'll hear like boom, boom, boom. Flurry. It's a very like, you know when you get it. And when you have a 3 here, you're going to do 509 damage on the 3-point flurry, and that's base. So now we're going to increase that by 20 because you're vulnerable, and now we're going to increase it by 15, compounding with that 20. So I often hit for over 800 damage per flurry because of those combo points and the way it's set up, which is plenty of damage to kill 99% of mobs right off the bat. And from there, I'll show you guys, this is some footage of me actually using this build to clear dungeons. You can see how fast it is. I will try to put it somewhere in here, a side-by-side with me clearing a dungeon with Twisted Blade, so you can kind of see the time difference. But yeah, it's a very viable build. You survive a lot longer, and I think it merits a conversation of what could be as we move forward. And I just wanted to show you guys something so you're not just feeling like, oh, well, I have to use Twisting Blade because that's what every website said on Google. So just another option, something to add to the toolbox. And yeah, I hope you guys liked it, and I'll catch you in the next one.